Carl Jung once said, "Everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is." But here's what most people miss. Men who master their shadow become dangerous. Not violent, not cruel, but dangerous in a way that makes them impossible to manipulate, control, or break. Most men spend their entire lives running from their darkness. They suppress it, deny it, pretend it doesn't exist, and that's exactly what keeps them weak. Today, we're diving into Jung's most powerful and most misunderstood concept, shadow psychology. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why the most powerful men aren't the ones who deny their darkness. They're the ones who've learned to integrate it. So, what exactly is the shadow? In Jungian psychology, the shadow is the part of yourself that you've rejected. It's everything you've been taught is unacceptable, everything you've pushed down into your unconscious because society, your family, or your own moral code told you it was wrong. For men, this usually means aggression, anger, selfishness, raw ambition, sexual desire, the parts of masculinity that make people uncomfortable. From the time you're a boy, you're taught to suppress these things. Don't be aggressive. Don't be selfish. Control yourself. Be nice. Be agreeable. And so you learn to hide these parts of yourself. You bury them deep. You create a persona, a mask, that's acceptable to the world. The good guy, the team player, the man who never causes problems. But here's the thing Jung understood. Whatever you reject doesn't disappear. It goes into the shadow, and from there, it controls you in ways you don't even realize. Think about the nice guy who never gets angry. He's always agreeable, always accommodating, always putting others first. He prides himself on being calm and rational. But then one day, something small happens. Someone cuts him off in traffic. A coworker makes a comment. His partner forgets something minor, and he explodes. Not because of that one incident, but because he's been suppressing years of anger, years of resentment, years of unacknowledged rage that's been building in his shadow. This is what Jung meant when he said the shadow becomes blacker and denser the more you ignore it. It doesn't go away, it grows, it festers, and eventually it erupts. Or worse, it leaks out in passive-aggressive behavior, in self-sabotage, in projecting your own darkness onto others. You see the aggression you deny in yourself everywhere around you. You judge others for the very traits you've rejected in yourself. This is the cost of denying your shadow. You don't become more civilized. You become more fragmented, more anxious, more controlled by the very things you're trying to escape. The power hidden in darkness. Now here's where it gets interesting. Jung didn't see the shadow as purely negative. In fact, he believed the shadow contained some of your greatest strengths. He said, "The shadow is 90% gold." Think about that. The parts of yourself you've rejected, the parts you're most ashamed of, contain 90% of your untapped power. Let's break this down. Take aggression. Society teaches men that aggression is bad, toxic, something to be eliminated. But aggression isn't the same as violence. Aggression is drive. It's ambition. It's the willingness to compete, to fight for what you want, to protect what matters to you. When you suppress your aggression completely, you don't become peaceful. You become passive. You become unable to stand up for yourself, unable to pursue your goals with intensity, unable to protect the people you love. But when you integrate your aggression, when you acknowledge it and channel it consciously, it becomes one of your greatest assets. The same is true for selfishness. You've been taught that selfishness is wrong, that you should always put others first, that self-sacrifice is noble. But there's a difference between selfishness and healthy self-interest, between being a narcissist and having boundaries. When you completely reject your selfish impulses, you become a doormat. You say yes when you mean no. You give until you're empty. You let people take advantage of you because you're afraid of being seen as selfish. But when you integrate this part of your shadow, when you acknowledge that it's okay to prioritize your own needs, you develop healthy boundaries. You learn to say no. You stop being a victim. And then there's sexual energy. Men are taught to be ashamed of their sexuality, to suppress it, to apologize for it. But sexual energy isn't just about physical desire. It's creative power. It's life force. It's the energy that drives you to create, to build, to make your mark on the world. When you suppress this energy completely, you become timid, apologetic, afraid of your own power. But when you integrate it, when you own it without shame, it becomes fuel for everything you do. This is what Jung understood. Your shadow doesn't just contain your weaknesses, it contains the raw, primal power that you've been taught to fear. And the men who learn to integrate this power, who learn to own their darkness without being consumed by it, become unstoppable. The 4 stages of shadow integration. So how do you actually integrate your shadow? Jung outlined a process that happens in 4 stages, and understanding these stages is the key to transforming your darkness into power. Stage 1. Recognition. The first stage is simply seeing what you've hidden. This is harder than it sounds. Your shadow operates in your blind spots. It's the part of you that you literally can't see because you've spent your whole life looking away from it. Pay attention to your triggers, the things that make you irrationally angry, the behaviors in others that disgust you, the traits you judge most harshly. Jung said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." If you find yourself constantly judging people for being selfish, there's probably a part of you that wants to be more selfish but won't allow it. If you're triggered by aggressive men, there's probably aggression in your own shadow that you've rejected. If you're disgusted by people who are sexually open, there's probably sexual shame in your shadow. Stage 2. Acceptance. Recognition is seeing your shadow. Acceptance is owning it. This is where most men get stuck. They see their darkness and immediately try to fix it, eliminate it, or justify it away. But acceptance means saying, yes, this is part of me. I have anger, I have selfish desires, I have aggressive impulses, and that's okay. That's human. Not I'm proud of being angry. Not I should act on every selfish impulse. Just this exists in me and I don't have to be ashamed of it. Jung said, we cannot change anything until we accept it. Condemnation does not liberate, it oppresses. When you accept your shadow, something profound happens. The energy you were using to suppress it, to keep it locked away, becomes available to you. You stop fighting yourself. You stop living in constant internal conflict. This doesn't mean you become your shadow. It means you stop pretending it doesn't exist. Stage 3. Integration. This is where transformation becomes real. Integration means channeling your shadow's raw energy with awareness, turning emotion into power, not chaos. That anger you've buried, you turn it into assertiveness, the strength to draw lines and speak truth. That selfishness you've denied, you refine it into self-respect, the courage to prioritize your needs without guilt. That aggression you feared, you shape it into drive the fire to chase what matters. For example, if someone disrespects your time, you neither explode nor stay silent. You say calmly, I value my time. Please respect our schedule. That's integration. Anger transformed into calm authority. Or when you notice your hunger for success, you stop apologizing for it. You chase your goals consciously ambitious but not cruel. Integration is the difference between being ruled by your shadow and ruling with it. Stage 4. Embodiment. The final stage is embodiment. This is when shadow integration becomes so natural that you no longer think about it. It's just who you are. You're no longer the nice guy pretending he has no anger. You're no longer the humble guy pretending he has no ambition. You're a whole man, a complete man, a man who knows his darkness and has made peace with it. And this is what makes you dangerous. Not because you're violent or cruel, but because you can't be manipulated anymore. You know yourself completely, and that makes you free. The dangerous man. So what does it mean to be dangerous in this way? It means you're a man who cannot be controlled. Think about how most manipulation works. It works by triggering your shadow, by poking at the parts of yourself you're ashamed of. Someone wants to control you? They make you feel guilty for being selfish. They shame your anger. They mock your ambition. And if you haven't integrated your shadow, it works. You feel that shame. You back down. You suppress yourself even more. But a man who's integrated his shadow, those tactics don't work on him. He knows he has selfish desires. He's not ashamed of them, so guilt doesn't land. He knows he has anger. He's made peace with it, so provocation doesn't work. He knows he has ambition. He owns it, so mockery bounces off. This is what Jung meant when he talked about individuation, becoming a complete, integrated individual who can't be reduced to what others want you to be. You become dangerous because you're authentic, and authenticity is the one thing that manipulation can't touch. Think about the men you instinctively respect, the men who command presence when they walk into a room, the men who speak and others listen, They're not the loudest. They're not the most aggressive. They're not trying to prove anything. But there's something about them, a groundedness, a completeness, a sense that they know exactly who they are and they're not apologizing for it. That's integrated shadow. That's a man who's done the work. And here's the paradox. The more you integrate your darkness, the less you need to use it. When you know you're capable of aggression, you don't need to be aggressive all the time. The capacity is there, and that's enough. When you know you can be selfish, you don't need to prove it constantly. You can be generous when you choose to be, not because you're afraid of being seen as selfish. When you own your ambition, you don't need to constantly broadcast it. You can be humble without being weak, because your drive isn't hidden, it's integrated. This is what Jung called holding the tension of opposites. You're both light and dark, both gentle and fierce, both selfless and self-interested. And you can move between these states consciously, depending on what the situation requires. Most men are stuck in one extreme or the other, either suppressing everything and becoming weak, or being consumed by their shadow and becoming destructive. But the integrated man walks the middle path. He contains multitudes, and that makes him unpredictable in the best possible way. You can't put him in a box. You can't predict his reactions based on simple manipulation. You can't control him with shame or fear. He's become his own man, fully individuated, fully realized. And in a world full of men who are still running from their shadows, that makes him exceptionally dangerous. Jung believed that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Most men live their entire lives being controlled by the parts of themselves they refuse to see. They wonder why they keep making the same mistakes, why they keep attracting the same problems, why they feel like something is missing. It's because they're only living as half of themselves, the acceptable half, the safe half. But your shadow isn't your enemy. It never was. It's the part of you that's been waiting, sometimes for decades, to be acknowledged, to be integrated, to make you whole. The question is, will you keep running from it? Or will you finally turn around and face the darkness you've been denying? Because on the other side of that confrontation is something most men never experience. True power, true freedom, true authenticity. The power to be dangerous, not in a destructive way, but in a way that makes you unbreakable. Drop a comment below. What part of your shadow have you been running from? What would change if you finally integrated it? And remember, the most dangerous man in the room isn't the loudest or the most aggressive. He's the one who knows himself completely, light and shadow, strength and weakness, all of it. He's the one who's done the work that most men are too afraid to do.